I don't have some amazing intro or anything like that. It's just two guys talking. That's what it's going to be called.
What
No,
the
it's going to
hell?
be called. I think it's going to be called Talking Music. Basically, that's kind of
Uh,
what I'm doing.
I had no idea you didn't have a title screen, or I wouldn't have done this. I don't know.
That's what you require.
Yeah, yeah.
Something created in Microsoft Paint.
You need absolutely, absolutely. You need
It
a
has
title
to
screen.
be. It must be a bitmap, or I will not do it. So how's
I
it going, man?
It's going, man. Um, Things are just abnormal and weirder than normal in my everyday life.
I mean, are they
Uh,
weirder than normal, or are they the new normal?
I don't like to use that phrase. I think it not only is it overused right now, but I feel like if we're saying that it's the new normal, we're giving into it. And I feel like I refuse to give into it. So screw the new normal.
I have Jason Erie with me, fellow singer songwriter here in Nashville. Uh, we've known each other how long? 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah, 3, 4 years. Yeah.
When did you move to Nashville?
Yeah, man. 5 years ago now.
5 years ago.
Yeah. So we've known each other for four.
Yeah. How long? You were here for like a year before you started playing in Nashville, or like playing open mics and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Just felt like, seeing what it was all about. Moved here with my family. So my kid was 6 months old, and I just decided to spend some family time before I dip my toes in the water, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Uh, Nashville, through this, which is cool, man. Like I found, as we all have, found a home here, and um, just through COVID, man. Like, thinking back to that, like, isn't it weird? Like, we would right now in February, John and I were gearing up to go overseas. I know you were going to go overseas before us, and I'm thinking of all those things. It's kind of like it's it's sad, but at the same time it's kind of nice to have been able to take this break, and hopefully, not get sick through this. But it's been wonderful to kind of bring back the family, mentality in my mind, like how we kind of came into Nashville. I get to go through it again, which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you've changed in your life. I mean, my life has completely changed. I think a lot of people's lives have changed,
Yeah.
but I'm just completely changing the way I'm living now. I and not just I was going to say not just because of COVID, but it is because of COVID, and it's not like a paranoia over COVID, although I am taking all the precautions. Um it's just forced me to really like look at think about family and think about like life and money and like um everyone's working. uh I've worked since I was 14, and it just kind of forced me to think about like I lost my job. Do I want to go back to working 40 hours or more a week, or do I want to work less because I'm spending less? So now I can kind of afford to work less, and I'm really enjoying that. And I do feel lucky, like what you were talking about, as far as my daughter, these are like the fundamental years. And you have a kid, and it's so normal in America. You have a kid, you have your little bit of time off with your kid who was just born, then you're forced back into the workforce. um, you get a little video on your phone of how they took their first step with the nanny or whoever's watching them. you know so I
Yeah.
feel fortunate during this time to be able to spend that with my daughter and
I
teach her
I,
things.
I completely agree, man. I Well, just before this call, man, I was playing Transformers on the bed. He wanted me to be a bad Transformer, and I could not remember any names other than Megatron. So I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm Steamroller Man," and he's like, "That's not a Transformer, Dad." I'm like, man, 5 year olds getting the best of me, you know
Yeah.
but it's great, man. I get to spend time with him, get to spend time with my wife. I've been, you know, finding other things that make me happy in this life other than music, which I think is hard when you're really hitting the pavement with the music thing, to
For
really
sure.
kind of take a step back from it. So it's been great.
You were talking about your new album. I mean, when do you have a date for that? Do you have an idea of, do you want to release that during the pandemic? Do you want to kind of wait till it's so you can tour behind it?
you know a lot has run through my mind about it. I think anyone with any kind of new material recorded, or even if they're going into recording it, um they you have to be thinking about it right now. But you know part of me, the artist part of me, just wants to put it out and be done with it, you know but the business side of things is a little bit different. And I think that I don't know, the answer is really I don't know when it's going to come out yet. We're shopping the record, um but we are doing we're mixing it this month, and it'll be completely done at the end of December here. So
That's
excited
cool.
to have the finished product, at least in my hand.
Yeah. So only you can listen to it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly.
but I mean, it is true that like a huge part of an album is the release and being able to tour. I mean, that's how a lot of people hear it. Um, so it's tough. It's tough unless you're like an established act where people are like, oh, I can't wait for their new thing. When are they going to put the new thing out? To just throw a CD out there. Because if you throw a CD out there, an album out there, and then you can't tour for a year and a half, you could just, I mean, do you get to still say this is my new album? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's all. There's I think there's a bunch of different ways of looking at it right now through COVID. At least you have the marketing side of it. Like, what better time to put out a record when no one is going out and you have their attention? That was the mindset in the beginning of this, right?
Mhm.
I think that anybody who was putting out a record, I'd say, not even in the beginning, I would say, up until August, you know, was probably going to do fairly well, just like the live streams and everything that was going on were picking up, traffic. Now we're seeing the tapering off of that, which um, isn't a bad thing. I think people are just kind of disconnecting a little bit, which is probably a good thing for on a human level. But for us, it's you're disconnecting a little bit. It hurts us if we're putting out a record right now, and it always happens in December either way. Um,
Yeah,
it
December's not a great time
No.
for I think it's probably a good time for movies maybe, but not for not as much for music.
Yeah, if you I was just watching the behind the scenes of Elf. You
Oh my
know that
god.
movie? I love that
Yeah.
movie. And the man who wrote it, and no one wanted to pick it up, and it was put out by New Line Cinema, which was famous at that time for doing all the Freddy Krueger movies, and they put out Elf, and it's this amazing movie. But think about the guy who wrote that, who couldn't get it picked up, and I look at it like he put out a Christmas movie. Now every year he makes money, every single year during this time. So I think December can be good if you wrote a Christmas movie or a Christmas record,
That's
but
true.
not all of us
True.
can write Elf. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know when the record's going to come out. I'm excited about it. It's definitely my favorite project that I've done to date. And
I
that's
mean, that's the way it should always be.
Yeah.
Your newest album should always be your favorite, right? If you're
Yeah.
already like, my first one was better, then you're like,
I think once you're done with it though, like, already my mind's like, oh, all right, my next record's gonna be a, acoustic folk record. And it's like,
right.
I'm having a hard time through this. I've been writing a lot. So uh it's it's great, but it's also like, man, if I don't catch up with this, I got like three records, that I'm put this one and then two more probably written. So I don't think, who knows what it'll be in another 2 years from now.
Hmm.
But yeah, man, it's what about you? You're writing a bunch, right?
Not a bunch. I mean, at my regular pace, you know. I've got a few new songs that I'm slowly rolling out here. And by rolling out, I'm just kind of playing them for people. Um on live stream and just kind of live videos that I record. But but yeah, I'm not like, recording them in studio or doing anything like that and like releasing singles. I'm gonna wait until I have a full album. Um but uh but yeah, writing here and there at my usual pace. I just kind of write songs and they make it onto an album, and then I spend a ton of money and put an album out. But
Yeah.
if I had an album, yeah, I don't think I'd be releasing it either during the pandemic. I just don't think. But at some point, maybe you got to reconsider that, I guess, right? If the pandemic lasts for years and years, who knows?
Yeah, and it
But
all depends. It all depends. I think that's great. The whole single route that people take right now, I understand it. I
yeah,
understand the want to constantly put out music, and
yeah,
I understand the marketing behind it too. But at the same time, I'm of the same mindset as you. Like I just like it to be a project. If you're putting out singles, it's going to be leading up to a record, and it's the record that you're promoting for it.
right.
um I'm of the same mindset as you.
And typically, when you've written all these songs pretty much within the same time period, they all kind of fit together like a puzzle. Like it's a complete project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of what I've said before in interviews that I've had, is that I'm not going to let an app dictate how I make music. So the whole singles route is social media and Spotify dictating how people create art. It's never been that way in the past. In the past, they would record the album and then they would say, okay, this one we think is going to be the hit single. So then we'll put out the single that way a little bit before the album. But it wasn't like, oh, I don't have an album finished yet, I'm going to put a song here, put a song here. Um, I don't know. I don't want to mess with all that. Um,
Financially it makes more sense, you know
yeah,
like I think where it's like, oh, I want to record a record, I'm going to go in and record 14 songs and spend a ton of money. I envy the people that could go in and just have a single idea and put out a single and say, hey, I'm good with just releasing this single. I wish I could be like that. It would have saved me a ton of money in the
but
past.
there's so many things that aren't thought about with recording singles and recording like a full album. One of the things is, like I was saying, if you wrote all the songs in the same time period and you recorded an album, they pretty much fit together. They sound like they're supposed to be on the album together, right? But say you had that full album and then over a year period, you decided to record one song here, one song there. Your voice might not sound the same during all those seasons. You know what I mean? It might sound different in those ways. One song may not come out as good as it could have. Uh, as far as, when we're recording, a lot of times we may be working 8 hours or 10 hours a day in the studio. So you're vocally warmed up, you're ready, you're in that mindset. I don't know. I just can't imagine like professionally getting in that mindset like 10 different times throughout the year. You know, it's
Yeah,
just weird.
yeah, and it's not just you, it's the band and whoever's recording with you. Like it is in my I've said this in the past too. It's all about the vibe, you know. It's all about what is actually happening in that room. It becomes magic with what who you're working with. And you know, if you have a band and you're close and you're, you know, going in and recording a record, you'll always have that little slice of, you know, time literally documented on a vinyl or CD or digital copy that you'll be able to look back and say, oh yeah, I really hate that guy, you know, now. But or like, you know, oh man, I remember so and so, he was great, you know. um
I
that's
can't
that's
imagine. Um, I think a lot of people who are recording singles and they're going into the studio, if they're doing that, they're using the studio's musicians or like recommended musicians. I cannot imagine asking my band, even not in a pandemic, like 10 times, like, hey, let's go in the studio this day. And then let's like a month, 2 months later, let's go in the studio this day. It's just a weird thing.
yeah, I
Let's
think
get it done in
that's
a week or less and be done with it.
I think that's the complete like session musician vibe, you know, or like way of thinking. Like you know, if I have three guys that I constantly play with in Nashville, they're, you know, players for hire. They might be my friends, but you know, um a lot of them are players from hire. If you put together, you know, we the record that I'm finishing up, um, all the people on there, I could honestly say that they're friends of mine.
Except that
And
one guy.
yeah, except for that one guy. You know who you are.
Correct.
Yeah. uh, but yeah, you know, it was a beautiful, it's this beautiful thing that happens in the studio between everyone who's recording. And I think that's what would be the most missed part for me. But and the producers that do it, God bless you, the people who do it. If I could put out singles every day and record them myself and save a ton of money, I'm in the game. If that's what you know, I wanted to be doing. But I don't know.
It ain't for me. I
No.
mean, like I've said in the past, my favorite artists, they release albums. I'm gonna release albums. That's just how it is. I'm not gonna, you know, maybe I'm old. I don't know. I don't care.
Well, hey, you know what? Dylan, you see today, just sold his entire catalog.
I saw that.
Yeah, $300 million. What anyone who, like, you know, looks at that as like, you know, a money grab, it's definitely a money grab. The guy's 80 years old, you know, and he's never going to see $300 million the rest of his life, you know. What a great way to leave your legacy behind, you know, and sell it to Universal, who has the capital to put it out anywhere that they want, you know, and it's going to be all over the place. Bob Dylan, you know, and the guy gets $300 million and gets to put that in, you know, wherever he wants to leave behind, you know, financial freedom for his family. It's pretty great.
Well, let's be honest. He's had financial freedom for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, yeah, but $300 million goes a pretty long way.
Yeah, yeah. I think a great example, like I mean, of an amazing human being is Dolly Parton. I mean,
Oh yeah,
obviously that can't be argued. Like she helped fund some of this, you know, COVID research into a vaccine, which is
she's
pretty amazing.
she's just incredible, man. Like, you know, the town where she lives near Gatlinburg, or where she grew up or something. Um,
Yeah, she grew
but
up in East Tennessee.
yeah, yeah.
I don't
What
know exactly where,
got the name
but
of the town?
she's always had like it seems like better business sense than like so many other artists. I mean, she's got tons of revenue in streams coming in, you know, from Dollywood to her music, all over the place.
See,
Um,
that's the key, is to open up a theme park if you ever get to that, level of success. You know, open up a
yeah,
theme park, call it like, Josh's Jungle or something, and and some rides for the kids.
Two Hearts the ride.
Yeah, there. It's only two hearts.
Yeah,
That's literally the entire experience. You just ride on two hearts, and you have about 1,500 people come a day that you can't have all of them ride the ride. It's a great experience.
you could have your you could have the amusement park where your fictional sister dies.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. You come in happy, you'll leave miserable. You know, it's a sad boy park.
That's better than a Proud Boy park.
That's
Uh,
that's true.
so let's go way back. What was your first instrument?
I played the clarinet first.
There you
Yep,
go.
clarinet, third grade, and then I played the saxophone after that.
So I was
And
sorry. Go
pretty,
ahead.
pretty weird to think back, but yeah, the first instruments I played.
I was talking to John and he played saxophone. I played trumpet.
We should get a
We were all forced. Yeah.
let's get a band together, man. Brass
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
Well, woodwind and brass.
Yeah. Mariachi.
There you go. Nice.
Um,
Trumpet. How old were you?
I was third grade also. Yeah.
They forced an instrument literally into your hand.
I think
You
that's how it
know?
was for all of us, probably, right? You know,
Yeah. I feel like they don't do that anymore.
they don't
You
do that
know?
anymore
No, you can't force anybody to do
because the
anything.
funding has been pulled from all the schools. So you can't, um, I think it's pretty expensive to rent an instrument. I don't know if renting an instrument back then was subsidized maybe by the school or by the government, and maybe it's not anymore. I don't know. Um, but it's there's got to be some insurance behind the scenes. I mean, you're trusting third graders with expensive instruments, you know.
I mean, what could you do wrong to a trumpet? You know?
uh, Leave it under a bus tire. I don't know.
Then that's a total loss, but
But
same thing,
I
same
feel like a
thing.
cheap trumpet or a cheap saxophone is a hell of a lot more expensive than a cheap guitar. That's what I feel like.
If I agree, I think what it really was. Forget the defunding of the music in schools. It was parents that did not want this. Think about a third grader coming home, and I've heard them recently. You have like a kid band, third graders. They're absolutely horrible, and they make you want to like bang your head in a door frame. So I I blame the parents.
Well, my brother played drums grown up and he still
Oh,
plays drums now. So I know what living with, yeah,
drums at
noises like
least
that.
drums at least you have, like it's banging. Think about the trumpet or the you ever hear the like wrong note played on a clarinet or saxophone?
Yeah.
That's the worst sound ever. Think about that ongoing forever in your home. I don't know. That's when the trumpet ends up under the bus tire.
It's interesting. I wonder like how the people way back when who originally created these instruments like knew that they were on to something because they weren't immediately experts at playing their own instrument just because they created it. Like they were probably making horrible noises, but they're still like, yeah, I'm gonna stick with this.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
let's put holes into this log and see how it sounds. Like who thinks like who thought of that? I was talking to Kristen, my wife, the other day, and talking about food. You know, like who decided to eat these things? Like like a clam. Think of the first person who opened up a clam and said, "That looks good. I'm gonna eat that." You know?
I mean, if I lived way back then in the time when people were not sure about what foods to eat or sure about everything, I I sure as hell wouldn't have tried a tomato because red is kind of like a warning color of like, don't eat this. You know what I mean? There's a lot of poisonous red stuff.
Yeah, and then there's strawberries and
Yeah.
cherries and raspberries
So the
and
answer is you just don't know.
yeah, you
You
have no.
just don't know.
It could be good. It could be bad. You
And
know.
there's stuff that's like you can go into it with the mindset like I'm tougher than a squirrel, but there's stuff that squirrels can digest that we can't eat
Yeah.
that would tear us up.
If you're watching a squirrel or a bird, birds too. Birds eat all kinds of berries,
Yeah.
and their stomachs have a higher uh, acidity than ours or something. But I don't think we could handle it. We'd either poop ourselves or we'd, you know, go down for good. You know,
Yeah.
man, I don't know.
I don't know how we got here.
And the
This is what
freaking instruments.
pandemic does to you.
Yeah. I will share this. I have like 15 different thermometers around the house, and I take my temperature like at least 5, 6 to like 22 times a day. You know, I don't know why.
It's called paranoia.
It's definitely paranoia. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a little bit of a germaphobe and my girlfriend gives me shit for it, but I mean, you're on another level.
I went this is interesting. I went to Vanderbilt months ago, like 6 months ago. Um because I'm like, oh man, my chest is hurting, definitely have COVID. So I went to go get like 5 different tests at the same time. Went to Vanderbilt, like never saw this ever before other than in a movie, but their parking garage, was all dressed for the coming days of needed space. And it was
I
very
saw that. I
eerie.
saw a picture of it, I think,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. And now I can't help but think, like, every day, seriously, I wake up and I'm like, man, there's people filling those beds now. You
Yeah.
know, I think we're at like 6% of free ICU beds in Tennessee.
And I think those are the images you need to see when you ask yourself, do I really need to go to this restaurant? Do I
Yeah.
really need to go into the store to pick this thing up?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Yeah. Amazon delivers everything, by the
They
way.
do. They do.
And I know people give them crap, and I do too, for the financial gain. But I will not lie. I ordered Amazon Fresh, and it comes in 2 hours. And I ordered Brussels sprouts and all this other stuff that literally you can't. Kroger didn't have any, whatnot.
Kroger
It,
produce is a whole other story. I mean,
that's yeah,
it's
abysmal.
When did you stop playing you said it was a clarinet and saxophone?
Oh man.
Like how much time passed between that and like getting a guitar and all that?
So my dad played guitar when I was a kid, so I was always kind of playing guitar. Um, I don't really count those years, because it wasn't like dedicated playing. I
Right,
think
just messing around.
yeah, just messing around. I think started playing guitar in the 5th grade because I thought it was cool, and I thought that's what girls wanted, and obviously it is not the only thing that girls want or need or anyone wants or needs.
You were wrong. I mean, girls really want the clarinet and the saxophone.
Yeah. Everyone wants the saxophone, man.
Yeah.
It's sexy, Um, but yeah, I played saxophone all throughout grade school and through middle school.
So you played that long. So did you get pretty decent at it?
Yeah, yeah.
Could you still pull it out and play it?
I'm sure I could.
We need to
Yeah,
see that.
yeah. I haven't. Man, that's a while ago now, but yeah, I would love to. If you find me a sax to play, I'll play it.
We'll go to some random venue and they'll have one sitting in the corner. You're like, I want to put
After
my mouth all
COVID.
over
Yeah.
that.
After I'll bring my own mouthpiece and after COVID.
They said there were no more cases.
Man gets the last case of COVID.
French kissing a saxophone.
Don't use other people's saxophones during the pandemic, ladies and gentlemen. That's a lesson that we just taught you.
Yep.
What how long did you play the trumpet?
I don't know, probably like a year or two. I mean, it wasn't long. It wasn't long.
Did you switch to a different instrument, or you just felt like
no.
You just were like, well, yeah, I'm done with the trumpet.
I did the same thing with trumpet that I did with church. I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, no, it just wasn't the instrument for me. I don't know. That's kind of a young age to really be forcing music upon a kid. I don't know. It's kind of if they're naturally like, I want to do it, then that's great. But
I think that's the wrong age to force anything on a kid, you know? But yeah, I mean, I'm grateful. I don't know about you. Tell me if you had this too, but I think like sixth grade, the reason why I really got into guitar was because we had regular music class during the day, not band, but music class. And they focused on an instrument, and you could either pick guitar or the drums, probably the hand drums or bells or something. And, who wants to play a hand drum or like a triangle when you can play guitar? But yeah, did you have that in school?
No, middle school and high school, I didn't have any music. I didn't have any, the way I got into music was I was just kind of writing. I was writing poetry. And then in high school, I started listening to a lot of punk music. And, there's some skilled punk musicians, but there's also punk musicians who are very basic. And I'm like, I can probably do that, and I think that's one aspect of becoming a songwriter that's very necessary. You need artists that you listen to and you're like, I could probably do that, or I could do something close to that. So I heard people like that. I started writing more. The poetry kind of transformed into lyrics a little bit more. And then I asked for a guitar when I was like 16. So yeah, I didn't get a guitar until I was like 16. Yeah, so a long time between the trumpet and the guitar. And then I didn't play live until I was like 32.
Wow. Wow. Yeah,
I just sat in my basement strumming that guitar, messing around and figuring stuff out.
I still remember I had this want to be a rock star when I was like a kid, like young. And because my dad would listen to those like big bands like Pink Floyd, and he was really into like Genesis back then too, which was strange, but it's still great, but I remember like playing guitar and singing with my father, and dreaming to be like that I was going to be this big rock star. That was my big dream. And I used to like draw album covers and stuff and put them in my dad's records, and like pretend they were mine.
And he's like, get this shit out of here.
My father kept every single one of those things. They're still in those records. It's pretty great.
You should take one of those old ones and make it an album cover of a new one.
No.
Is it just like scribbles and stuff?
Yeah, literally. Like it's probably when I was like 5, 6 years old, I started doing that.
It would be cool as like an Easter egg in an album, like if you printed a lyric booklet just to have that be the background behind the lyrics, like something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. He also has all these audio tapes of me. singing from the
Hmm.
time I was like 3 years old until I was like 10, which was, he still got those too. So one day, like, there's always that one person that could like completely like destroy everything you've worked for. My dad is that person, you know.
But your dad's too nice to ever do that.
That's no, I would let him do that. I think that there's something beautiful about
I
that.
brought you into this world.
That's right. I'm gonna take you out. But yeah, man, I remember my first show. I remember I was in I if God, I guess it was the 90s. Uh
So
and
is that how you started? Did you just play a show, or
yeah,
did you ever start with open mics or anything like that?
I think so I was a kid, I was in fourth grade, and I started writing music, and I wanted to be in a boy band.
I could see
So
that.
yeah, so I created this whole thing in my head. It was called Past, Present, and Future, and it was me. I wanted to be like the Marky Mark guy. So like, I was present and I was like, I was Nike'd out, and my friend Ignacio was the past. And my friend Danny, who picked his nose all the time, was the future, you know. And we played the after school program after my magic tricks that I did for the entire after school program in fourth grade. That was my first show. Yeah, but you know, thinking about that, like really into music, you get into like high school. High school is when eighth grade into high school. Eighth grade, we had a band, myself and Darren, called the Thriving Rivals, and we were a punk rock band in Dumont, New Jersey, which is home of the Misfits and a bunch of other punk rock bands, and we were horrible. And we were like the Sex Pistols of Dumont, man. We used to throw our own shows because no one would put us on a show, but it was in his basement, and we used to have all the local bands play, and we had every emo band that you could think of back in those days, which I guess was the year 2000. um, and they were coming through, like 21 pennies was the name of a band. They got big. Thursday, Senses Failed, all these like bigger bands, and we were the shit bands that the cops would always come before we started playing, you know so fun times. I wish it was open mic nights.
Yeah. So you were doing kind of emo pop punk kind of stuff. Is that what you would call it? Like back in Jersey?
Yeah, man. So I was in a pop punk band for a long time, in a serious pop punk band. And before that was punk rock. That was my scene. Yeah.
So how long between that ending and then the solo singer songwriter thing starting?
So I would say, man, the really the solo stuff for me started in high school. After that band, the Thriving Rivals, broke up, I got really heavy into Paul Simon in that time frame. Dylan was a big part of it, but just the New York City kind of scene back then, which was like Ani DeFranco was the big name in New York. All the coffee shop stuff. And 10th grade, we started going to all these coffee shops in the areas and playing. And so my focus became more so on folk music, and then shifted back into pop punk after high school, because I just so happened to get into a band that, that's what we were doing. But
So
after
were
all,
you still like, since you started with the more folk kind of stuff, were you still writing folk stuff and just kind of saving it and during that pop punk time, or no? Or were you
yes,
writing some songs that you were like, just these just don't fit the band, so they're not going to be band songs?
I turned a lot of them into punk songs, you know.
Okay.
I think that's the beautiful thing about folk music is that you can, I think every punk rocker becomes a folkie later on,
When they mellow
uh,
out, yeah.
and then when they mellow out. So I was in my transitional phase, but yeah, I don't know if I really saved any of it. I wrote a record back then that I released under a different name, and I called it Inspirations from My Couch, and it was basically all about one single girl when I was 17 years old. But yeah,
How's your wife feel about that?
I don't think she's ever heard it actually.
Cue the music.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hey, honey. Yeah, man. But many years went by. I took a break from music after we stopped touring. I wanted to settle down and get married, and we're together now for 10 years, man. Which is crazy. Married for 8. Um, so I quit the band in the middle of a tour in
Such a dick.
yeah, it was really bad in Ohio, which is a beautiful state. I love Ohio, by the way.
Okay.
Ohio's great. Um, but yeah, I left it in the middle of that, and I kind of took probably like 2 years or so off of music, and then moved down here, and then I met you, and now I'm on this call.
You sound thrilled. Um, so you said you were playing coffee shops and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
were those just like gigs back in the day? Those weren't really like open mics or anything like that?
No, no, man. They were a scene in New Jersey. So like we had so myself and my friend Darren down here, we went that's what we did on every single Thursday. We would go to a place called Cool Beans in Oradell, New Jersey. And then later on we met a bunch of kids who were going there at the same time, and it just became this really cool scene that was just creative and full of energy. And there was like maybe 3 or 4 different places that we would go to, and a lot of it we would take the bus into New York and play like the Sidewalk Cafe and um,
Hmm.
places where Dylan played. That was our big thing. Was like, oh yeah, well we got to play where Dylan played. You know. Yeah,
But
you.
yeah, I mean, I started with open mics. One of the reasons I didn't start until I was older was because, first of all, because I didn't feel like I was ready, and I wasn't ready. My writing and my playing music, since I'm self-taught, just weren't there yet, or at least at a level when where I was happy with it. But
Yeah,
the other
but you
reason,
you were a part of the scene though. You were telling me that you were going out to shows and stuff before that, right?
oh, I was going out to punk shows and all different kinds of shows, rock shows. Um, but those would be like touring bands coming through. Yeah, the other thing I was gonna say is where I grew up had no scene, like zero scene. So there was no like, that's why when I moved to kind of more of an artsy small town, Frederick, Maryland, where you've been, when we toured up through there. So that's when I started going to these open mics. And I think open mics were kind of really fundamental to my development, like as a musician. And I think you'd probably say the same, even though you kind of started doing that later in life. But it pays to have a music scene in your town or near your town. It's very important for the development of a musician. But um, there are very few really good open mics. I feel like I've been really fortunate to be able to go for a long time to like 3 different really good open mics, 2 of them in Maryland and one of them here in Nashville. Um, and it's really all about the host and the host creating that atmosphere, and but also just the people who come to the open mics. Um,
Yeah, we met in an open mic,
well,
which
no, I'll tell you where we met because I was thinking about
uh
this today. We met. You met John at Coco,
yeah.
which is the open mic that I always used to go to as well. But for some reason, like the first couple times that you went, I wasn't there for one reason or another. So I met you when you were playing a show with John at Vinyl Tap. Vinyl Tap, for those who don't know, is a bar slash record store, which is a really cool idea. I hope they're doing okay during the pandemic. I don't really know. Um, but more of those need to exist. But yeah, I met you there through John.
That's
Um,
right. We
a
played
little bit
that.
after you started playing live, and I was like, we the three of us need to play a show together.
That's right. We played that like duo night or something, right? It was
Yeah, I
like,
think that's what it was.
yeah, it was Audrey and
Yeah,
John,
Audrey
and
was there. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I met you through that, and then we all started hanging out at the open mic together. Um, I think the key one of the key things that two of the key reasons that we started all playing shows together um, was our music kind of fits well together. We're all Americana, but we're not like exactly the same, and it makes for a good show. You know, if someone likes one of us and they come to a show, they're likely to buy all three of our CDs. Um, and then the other thing was, at an open mic, at the open mic, we were the ones who were some of the ones who were very focused on writing new original music continuously. You know what I mean? Not really playing covers. Uh, so so yeah, I think we gravitated towards each other because of that, and just a great open mic,
Yeah,
a
man.
great moment in time. Sad that it doesn't really exist. I was thinking earlier, that's one of the things with COVID, um, is that we got to experience that time. Can you imagine if we had just moved to Nashville in like January, and then we've just got to put all this on hold? Like we're already like somewhat established. We can do things from home,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you're just starting out, it's tough
I
right
will
now.
say I think about that a lot, man. I don't know how people are going to do it here. I think a big part of this town, it's like one big open mic.
Mhm.
That's what Nashville, that's the way I would explain it to
It's
anybody.
all about networking.
Yeah, that's what Nashville is. It's like every single person here. I've made some great friends in Nashville, including Josh. That you know, you just are nice to people, and it's the community that really builds it. So people without that right now and just moving the town, I don't know how they're. I hope that they find their community. I hope that they find their people. You know, in a
Yeah,
safe in a
it's
safe
tough. I mean,
way.
I hope those places still exist,
Yeah.
when this is over. Um, seems like Bobby Zeidelauer is sticking around, which is a good one.
Yeah, they're reopening, man.
Five Spots doing well.
Five Spots doing all right. D's is doing
D's,
all right. The Bowery Vault, they're kicking up.
yep.
Um, you
But
know,
we've lost a lot even before the. It's a tough town. I mean, even before the pandemic, like in the time that we've been here, four pretty decent sized venues have just kind of four or five are
I'll,
gone.
I'll share my relationship with Josh in this way. I played Soul Shine Pizza, and we played there, and it was a good show and had fun. And I told Josh, he's like, oh, cool, man, I'm happy you played there or something. And he's like, I'm like, yeah, they paid us very well. He's like, you got paid there? I'm like, yeah. He's like, they just shut down, and that's why, you know.
The only, yeah, it's your fault.
It's my fault. And
The
that
only venue to pay someone in Nashville goes under.
but yeah, like, it's been great to have friends through this, and to even beyond doing this kind of thing, you and John, and I just really good friends that Josh and I have been all over together now, and at least the East Coast.
East
um
Coast, yeah.
you know
I mean,
um
we let's those are the last shows that I played. Are those the last that you played? Then those ones in February,
yeah,
Asheville and Knoxville,
yeah,
Johnson
yeah.
City.
And then I think I came home and we played the basement, and that was the last one. The
Do you
last one
remember?
was
Do you
basement.
do you remember uh, how weird Asheville was? I mean, that was right at the start of the pandemic when they had one or two cases in California. You remember?
Yeah,
And and nobody was taking it seriously. Of course, like I read the news and stuff like that, and I'm a little paranoid about this shit. So I'm like, and then it's kind of a ghost town in Asheville for those who don't know. During this time of year when it gets colder, in February when we were there, because so many people who own homes there also own homes in like Florida and other warm places, so they go there during the winter months. Um, but do you remember we were standing on that main street, like right across from the venue, and we see a bus come down, and that guy, the bus driver, has a mask on. That was the first person I'd seen with a mask. I was like, oh shit.
that's right.
And
That's
then
right.
we went into that little music store right after seeing that mask, and it was freaking me out a little bit because that guy behind the counter had a cold, and he was like kind of like sniffling and coughing a little bit. I'm like standing back on the other side of the room. I'm like, I'm not getting close to this dude.
I think we were all talking about, while we were down there, or up there or over there, um, saying like, yeah, uh, at least it's not going to be a big thing here. It's a big thing, overseas, and there's only a couple cases in the United States. Like,
And they didn't know how fast it spread and easily it spread back
yeah,
then. So it's
but
just,
literally with like in 4 weeks from that, though, like then
yeah.
it started become so, like, to think about that, like that bus driver, you know he had a right, and we would have been freaking out if it was like, as widespread. Now I don't think we would have been there, but
We could have all gotten it. We
yeah,
could have all gotten it on that tour,
we might
even
have.
in the beginning, because the thinking was, okay, it's in California. How the hell is it going to get all the way over here to the East Coast? But but the way they knew it was in California was those people had symptoms, and often people don't have symptoms for like, what is it, like 2 weeks or something like that. So someone could easily have flown over to the East Coast from the West Coast with it, or you know, who knows?
That guy in the music store could have been a carrier, man. you know
Well, none of us got it, so
I like, man, that was a good time, though. We had a great time in, what was that, Johnson City?
yeah, Johnson City was awesome. We need to go back there eventually
Yeah,
when we can. That was what, the Willow Tree?
yeah, the Willow Tree. They're shut down now.
Oh Jesus.
So we'll go to another place, I guess. But I saw that they shut down, which is
That's
sad.
horrible. That was a great venue. It
It was great.
was a really good open mic too.
Yeah, yeah. We played there, and you know, I think what's nice about the three of us traveling together, or even just the two of us, like, I think we bring the right amount of what the other person does not have. Like, not musically. I'm just saying, like, I'm a little. I think I'm probably all spontaneous, and just kind of am like, yeah, let's go with the flow. And Josh is a little more grounded, which is, which is great when you put the two together, because it's like, hey, let's go, do this thing. And Josh is like, yeah, I don't think so. And then it makes you think a minute, and you go, yeah, that's, maybe that's not a good idea. Or the opposite way, like, okay, I'll do that. It's
Then
like, all
John is
right.
just muttering to himself.
Yeah.
John's like, well, I can see both sides.
He's from the Midwest, That's very true. That's very true. Oh,
But
man.
yeah, do you remember the missing mic stand? The case of the missing mic stand
I
in
do.
Kentucky?
I knew Josh loves this story.
It's a good story.
It is a good
It's a good
story.
story.
It is a good story. Yes, I'll let you be the one to tell it though, Josh, and
All right.
I'll give you my 2 cents on
Okay.
it.
So we were driving to middle of nowhere, Kentucky. We used to play this bar.
Lexington.
And
Lexington? Was it Lexington?
no, it wasn't Lexington. Lexington's got stuff going on. This was like middle of nowhere, like western Kentucky.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
And where was it? Like 2 hours, 2.5 hours from here, something like that.
That's right. There was a
And
Taco Bell.
but this bar was like the only thing going on in this town, basically. And so we drive up there. I'm in charge of putting all the gear into the car.
All the gear.
Yeah. So we get there, we're setting up. We've set up pretty much everything, but I'm like, where's the mic stand? So, I'm going to tell this entire story, but long story short, I don't go anywhere without a mic stand. Like whether I'm playing shows or not, there's always a mic stand in my trunk now.
I can attest to that.
So I was like, where is the mic stand? And we had no mic stand, and we were in the middle of nowhere, right? And it is like 1 hour from the show, from showtime.
Yeah.
So I get on my phone and I'm looking for like music stores. Of course, there's no music stores. There's no Guitar Center or anything like that because we're in the middle of nowhere. So I find two little places. One is like supposed to be like a little music supply store, which would be awesome. And then the only other thing was Walmart. So I start walking to my car, and it starts to rain. So now I'm driving in the dark through the rain, down these winding country roads, like all over the place. And then I get to this little music supply store, and it's a guy's house, and it's completely dark. There's no lights on. I'm like, I'm not walking up to somebody's house in the country. And it wasn't even a music store. It was like a DJ supply thing. So they sold like strobe lights and shit like that. I'm like, this is not going to help us. And I'm not knocking on this guy's door. So by that time, 25 minutes had passed or something like that. So I'm flying down the road going to Walmart, and I tracked down an employee in Walmart, and I'm like, do you guys have a music section? And he's like, oh, we did like 2 months ago. I'm like, thanks, that's really helpful. And so then I called Jason. I was like, what the hell are we gonna do? And Jason's like, I've done this before. I've had to do this before one other time. So
I think I said get a mop or a broom.
Yep.
Duct tape.
Yep. So we got I got a mop handle, not even a full mop.
A pretty good mop handle too.
Pretty good mop handle. I didn't want to buy the whole mop because, I'm cheap like that. And got some black duct tapes to not bring attention to it. And I got back there, and we propped up a chair next to the mop handle, and we duct taped the mop handle to the chair, and duct taped the mic to the top of the mop handle. This is really bootleg.
And it was great.
And it was great. And it worked out. And we had a place to set our drinks.
That's
and
right.
no one was paying attention to us anyway. We're playing in this venue, and everyone is talking loudly and not paying attention to our original songs. I don't even know why we're hired for this gig. It's definitely not like a listening room or anything like that. But they didn't even notice.
Which I look back on though, and I look back on it fondly, because not only the mic stand debacle and the the what we did to get through it, but like when we would stop playing and no one would clap, every time I went outside, there was like 10 people out there going like, "Oh, I love your stuff, man." Do you remember that?
They were like listening through the window.
Yeah, but no, inside they're all like talking
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But then when you got like to talking with them, they're like, "Oh man, yeah, I really like that song." And it's like, these people, are they listening or what's going on? And then a homeless person bought one of my hats and CDs. Do you remember that?
Oh shit. Well,
uh,
know your audience.
yeah.
Um, but you know, the thing about it is what I was saying to myself, like, yeah, it's a little disheartening when nobody's paying attention, but what I say to myself is, um, just treat this like practice. Just treat this like practice and get some good practice out of it and get paid. And meanwhile, Jason is over there. He's getting pissed.
And I
Jason is
played a
not,
Blink 182 song.
and he played a Blink 182 song, and I'll add some of that footage here because I
And
do have it on my I
please,
do have the video.
yeah. And still no one turned around.
I will include some pictures from that night because I do have some pictures from that night. And then after we were done, we unhooked the mop handle, and we each like stuck a sticker on the mop handle,
That's right.
and we handed it to the bartender.
Yep. And she was very happy with that.
So yeah, if you ever in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky and you go to a bar and you see a mop in the corner and it's got a Josh Gray and a Jason Erie sticker on it, you'll know we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll know the entire story of that night. That was once a mic stand.
that they're probably still using it as a mic stand. What a great what a great bar. It was like one of those shows that you're just like, oh God, what am I doing with my life? But at the same time, they were incredible people that ran that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they were really nice. I mean, okay, so they liked music. They
Yeah.
enjoyed music. They just were not good at booking music because you have to know your audience and you have to know what kind of venue you have and what the audience is going to be into and stuff like that. And we're not it. Maybe they were just being nice and giving us some money, but it just did not, they wanted party music. That's what we were lucky that they just let us play, and it wasn't like a Broadway thing where they're like yelling covers at us and shit like that. It could have gone down like that. That would have been a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone would have definitely have screamed Def Leppard or,
Wagon wheel.
Yeah, Wagon Wheel. Gosh, I don't know who wants to play that anymore.
So let me ask you this, because I was thinking about this before, just jumping to another topic.
Yeah.
Cover songs, right?
Uh-huh.
Neither of us do cover songs that often. We do an occasional cover song here or there.
Yeah.
If we really like the song or we feel we can do a good version of it. Do you think there are any songs that should not be covered? And what I mean by that is there are some singer-songwriters who have released songs that are so personal to them that when you hear someone else cover it, no matter how good of a job they do, maybe it just feels a little weird because it's so specific.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Right away, for some reason in my mind, was Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton. Because it's written about his son.
Yeah.
Who tragically died as an infant, falling out a window. And I feel like if anybody covered that song, that would be wrong to do because that was a song that he wrote for his son. Um, you know, there's songs like that stick in my mind. And I think a lot of original songs, and us included, like original music, it's coming from a place, right? It's coming from somewhere. So it's your story to tell. I think, what's cool about covers, or people doing cover songs are that they're interpreting what you say, and making an artistic point themselves with that song. So um, I wouldn't necessarily say you shouldn't cover a song, but definitely that one might be need to be left alone. What about you? What do you think is the perfect song that you would say, yeah, can't do it?
I don't know. I didn't really have a specific song in mind, but yeah, I definitely feel that way. The song you mentioned is a good example. Um, it's just some songs. Sometimes you hear them, and it's just like that. That didn't happen to you.
Yeah.
You sing it beautifully, but that did not happen to you. So don't do that.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's if someone were to cover some of our songs, it would be an honor. It would be very nice, be a very cool thing. Um, but uh, you know, there's songs that who the hell knows why we write songs, and nobody can stop us because it's an obsession. It's just something we do. It's just part of us. Um, there are songs that are an exercise in writing a good story or an exercise in good songwriting. And then there are songs that are just pure therapy for the songwriter. And I think the song that you mentioned is one of those songs that's pure therapy. And I think those are maybe the songs that shouldn't be touched. That's just my personal feeling though.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead and cover those and look like a jackass if you want, songwriters. Do what you want.
Yeah, I'd stay away from that one song at least.
Yeah. There's
It,
just there's a lot of songs that are written, and I think even a lot of the best songs are written in a way that anyone can interpret them in their own way. But there's some where details that are so specific um are put in that it most likely only ever happened to one person. So
yeah, the one song that oh man. Well, I don't know if I should even say this. I'm putting I think I'm going to go into the studio and record this, but like this is the let's see. Oh, this is tuned weird. Um that song, Genesis? You ever hear Genesis?
I think I've heard a little bit, but I don't know that I would know that it was Genesis.
Uh Hot sun burning down, just standing around. Hot sun making me sweat. Get is coming to me, haven't got me yet. No, I can dance.
Yeah,
You know that song?
I know that one.
So I think I'm going to cover that. You know why? Because it's a stupid song, and those are okay to cover.
They're gonna reach out to you on Twitter. They're gonna be like, "Oh, thank you for covering the song." Then they're gonna see this and they're gonna be like, "Oh, you think it's a stupid song? Fuck you."
I do. I think they would agree.
It's okay for songs to be stupid.
It is okay for songs to be stupid. Some songs are great because they're stupid.
There's a
You
lot of
know,
stupid songs in Nashville. A lot of them.
and a lot of stupid songs that have yet to be written in Nashville.
It's true.
You know,
What are some what are some songs that you have on this new one that is not coming out? I've probably heard all these songs, right? Or most of them?
No, you probably heard one of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What
It's
would that one be?
the one about the girl at the Meadowlands Fair. Um,
Okay.
that's on the record. But I kind of changed my thought midway through it. I had a couple songs pre-recorded that I was going to put on the record, decided not to do it, just because the heavy times that we're living in kept me writing. And so this record I'm going to call Tiny Fires, and it's kind of about the whole record is just kind of uh, this point in time that we're in. So I don't know if it is COVID only or political, or I think it's a little bit of everything, thrown into it, but it's just my viewpoint on things, and it's a social, um, it's a social stance on what was going on in the world at in this time. So, um, wrote there's a song called Amazon on it that I wrote with John and Arackley, which was fun. It's like we for some reason I had this concept in my head about like if there was a second coming of Jesus Christ, no everyone would just think that he was a homeless person on on the side of the street, and why pray to God when you have Amazon, you know? So like it was the chorus of the song is like uh uh yeah, man.
It's so hard to think
I
of
know.
lyrics when you don't, because the lyrics, when you're writing a song, they're so tied to the melody
Yeah.
and the play and the point that those lyrics appear within the song. So like if you haven't sung the first part of the song to get to that point,
Yeah.
it's like so hard to
It's
just
hard.
jump right into it.
But yeah, it's like only God, even God's been shopping on Amazon. Get on your knees and pray. Hell, I'd give my life to Jesus Christ, but I ain't got 3 days. So like it's basically the it kind of set the tone for the record after I wrote that, because I realized what I was talking about, and more so like throwaway culture and the consumerism that we're in, and the political state that we're in, and just kind of the division that we have. So I couldn't. It wasn't the same record when I started recording it. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, so now it is a record that I'm in love with, and I can't wait to hear the finished product. Honestly, it's for me at this point. You know,
I mean, that's the thing that's weird is it could feel like what if you what if you recorded this whole album, not this particular one, but what if you wrote an album and recorded it right before the pandemic and then released it right when the pandemic um started, and then that album is kind of like representing you, but then the pandemic hits and you're like, I don't really feel the same. So maybe it's sometimes it's good to just hang on to stuff and just release it a little bit later when you're more
man,
sure of it.
I am so happy that not happy. I take that back. I'm not happy that the pandemic happened, but I am happy that through it became what came out from this is this statement piece that I think I feel like I needed to make.
Hmm.
If not for anybody else, for myself, it was a therapeutic, writing period for me. Um, so, like you said, like imagine if you if you recorded and put out a record right before it, like, I had the record in my head of what it was going to be, and completely changed literally as my world came crashing down along with everyone else's, and I think what resulted from it is this record that's truly personal to me, that uh, is just something that I feel the need to put out into the world, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's what's exciting for me about it. I'm really, really proud of this, man. But I'll share it with you before, you know, before sooner than later. But
Awesome.
yeah, yeah, but
Very cool. Um, so I'm probably gonna play one of your songs and one of my songs on here.
cool.
What would be a song that you would want of yours to go on here? If you could choose one song,
Uh,
one album.
the art of letting go or talking to chairs would off that first record would be the
Okay.
one. And yours play that ghost song. I like that a lot. Ghosts, and I feel like and please play it with the poem before it.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll do that. I started doing this Patreon thing. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah.
Um and I'm really enjoying it. Uh I was I was talking with my girlfriend about how like I don't feel like my memory is that great. You know what I mean? I was like, it's because there's a lot of people who can like remember things. They're like, I remember something from when I was 3 years old. I'm like, okay, show off. Um,
Want to
but
fight about it?
but I don't feel like my memory is that great. But from doing this Patreon stuff, I did a video the other day on my song Mortality Blues from my first album, which at this point is like 6 years old. And I spent 24 minutes talking about that. Like where I was, the mind state I was in, what music I was listening to during that time, and it all came back to me. So it's there, it's just kind of buried. There has to be something to like trigger it, you know? But but you mentioning Ghost is kind of what brought that up because uh one of the things I'm doing is I'm showing people my actual lyric booklets and my lyric books, and I found where I was writing. I had this other song halfway written, and uh, I took the intro to Ghosts, that poem, from this other song. So it's kind of cool to show people like this is what it was. Sometimes I like cannibalize songs, take from this, pull at it here. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I was also mentioning, I think I mentioned in the Mortality Blues video, it's just hilarious. Or maybe I mentioned it on the last live stream I did. It's hilarious walking into a place like the Country Music Hall of Fame, where they show the supposed original lyric sheets of these hit songs, and there's not a mark on them. And it's just like, as a songwriter, you have to be like, that is such bullshit.
Oh, I
Okay.
know,
If
man.
you look at my songs, it's chicken scratch, and there's like so much crossed out stuff. Like two
this
hearts, you can't imagine.
this is the second version of a song I just wrote. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
ripped out of a book. Here's another one, and then it turns into more chicken scratch and crossouts, and then I write it at least 4 times before it ends up in a notebook.
That is how it is for everyone.
Yeah,
And I will make that statement. I will say that is how it is for everyone. Anyone who is a good songwriter, um, you may have a verse in a song that just came to you that you did not touch. That's amazing when that happens. But for that to happen for an entire song, impossible. It doesn't happen. It does not
no,
happen. Um, because what you do when you write a song is you play it over and over, and you obsess over it, and you're like, oh, it's a little clunky right here, maybe I need to take out one syllable here or add two syllables here to make it work. So you cross out a word and you add another word, or I need to like stretch out my pronunciation of this. Just so many things that go into writing a song. So there, yeah, when I see a clean lyric sheet and someone tries to tell me that that's the original lyric sheet. And I'm like, I'm not, why are you lying to me?
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I don't think that a song's truly ever. You know what's cool about it, being a songwriter, the song's always changing. You know, as you move along through the years, even songs that you've played 500 million different times, you know, you are still constantly changing with it as you change through the years. You know, the way that you play it, the what it means to you changes.
Mhm.
You know, and that's what I love about, like, you know, the lyric. Like, I have two drawers that are, like, you know, probably about, I'd say this is a probably 2 foot deep drawer. I'm from Jersey,
Draw.
sorry, draw. Um, and it's filled with lyric notebooks, you know. Same thing on the other side. I have every one that I ever had, other than the fourth grade past, present, future one, which is upsetting. But
I have pages of um notes that I've taken on my cell phone and printed out. Like
yeah, yeah,
it's yeah,
which is great. It's great to keep. I look through them every now and then. Every couple of years, I'll, like, uh, go through them, and then another song might happen from it. You know,
right,
that's what's
right.
cool about it. You know,
Yeah, I definitely used stuff in my last album that was like, a chorus that was like 6 years old or something like that. Sometimes you come up with something and you know it's great immediately, but you are not able to rate a song that is good enough to justify the use of it. And that's, I think, what separates a good songwriter from an average songwriter is knowing when you have something good, knowing when something is not good enough, knowing when to hang on to stuff and not waste it on a crappy song. You don't
for
want a song
sure.
that's 25% good and 75% crap, you know? No one's going to listen for that first minute or whatever to get to that great chorus if the beginning is crap.
Very true.
So,
Very true. That's there's a lot of crappy songs around, popular or not. So again, if you want to come to Nashville and write, you just have to sprinkle a few things in there, you know, including your own feces sometimes.
I think that I think that that's why open mics are so important, you know. Um that's where you really grow and come up with ideas. Um One thing I said in that last video that I just recorded was when I was starting out, it was not unusual for me to go to 5 or 6 open mics a week. Like I was driving all over Maryland, Pennsylvania, like just all over the place, Virginia. Um, so what's the first thing you want to do when you get home as a musician? What's the first thing you want to do when you go to a concert or a show and you get home? You want to play your instrument. It's just, it strikes something in you. You took away something from that show, or you're like, I'm better than that band, or whatever pops into your head. For some reason, every musician just wants to get home and play their instrument. So open mics and going to shows has that effect. Um, but the other thing I said is why open mics are so great is um, they kind of put this pressure on you, because when you're going week after week playing the same songs and you don't have a new song, you're like, oh shit, I'm just gonna have to play this song that everyone's heard, a million times. I need to come up with something new,
And
you
make
know?
them still like it, you know. That's what I love, or loved about open mics, is that, you're stuck with playing those songs, yeah, but like when those people start uh singing along to it, or, you know, then you realize that, like, oh, okay, well, I'm not the only one who enjoys playing this song. Like, these people are enjoying hearing it. And I think that's the turning point in everybody's, that first step of a career, or whatever you might want to call it, obsession, you
Mhm.
know, is when you realize that you get a response from people, that's what open mics did for me. Is like, especially when I was a kid, you just kind of, you jump in, you become part of a scene, and then, the scene is a part of you, and you know, you just, it's, there's no, I don't think you'll ever have, I don't think we'll ever have that feeling, that we did in an open mic, uh, atmosphere back when, again. But I think what comes from that, is true friendships, and, the ability to kind of just not take yourself so seriously. Like, we can play a show with a mop for mic stand, and no one listening, and eat Taco Bell afterwards, and go home and laugh the entire way home of what we just did. And that's what you get from that.
We'll never get it again, but we have those memories,
Yeah.
and those can't be taken away. And it's a developmental stage as a musician, and I think it's a key stage. And I think a big part of it is there's so much support. Um, I think it's really important to have a good open mic and a really good open mic host, but you're not always going to get that, but you're still going to find people you have music in common with in the audience and other musicians. And there's typically a support among musicians. Um, and part of the reason they support each other at an open mic is because at that stage, everyone in that room is vulnerable, you know, and everybody needs that support. Um, so that's what everyone shares in that room. Whether, some may be further along than others, but you give everyone respect, you clap, and that's how it is.
And
The
keep your
good
mouth
thing.
shut.
And you
Clap,
keep your mouth
clap, and
shut.
keep your mouth shut. Well, good hearing from you, dude.
Yeah,
Give me,
man. Good
give me,
talking.
yeah, same here, dude.
Stay
Give me,
safe. Don't get COVID. Don't do no risky behavior.
no, the only risky behavior I have is going to the bathroom. So, um,
I'm keeping that.
yeah, that's good. I'll see you later, man.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, peace.
See you.
I grew up on the second story of some Jersey bricklayer's pride. Styrofoam coffee cups and half-lit rooms on Wednesday nights. King of the baseball team, suburban factories, oh, they're bound to burst. Caught the big one Friday night. Man, I was something. Yeah, where I come from, people lay their heads to rest way before their time, I guess. Ain't that easy getting warm. And it's one day at a time who you trying to kid. Ain't that time a shit kicker, man? I lost what I've been. I ain't looking for a family, and God never seemed to care. Now I'm listening to strangers and talking cheers. mother was an honest man, gave his life to the Union for a gold watch and some land. Oh, my mother, God rest her soul, was a fighter and a drinker since I'm 6 years old. But I let that go. And it's one day at a time, will you try it again? Ain't that time a shit kicker, man? I lost who I have been. I ain't looking for a family, and God never seemed to care. Now I'm listening to strangers, I'm talking to chairs. I'm just listening to strangers, talking to chairs.
I saw him standing there so dirty and disheveled. When I said hi, his eyes grew wide like he'd seen the devil. He said, "Oh, pardon me, my friend, most tend to pass me by. They'd rather wish I didn't exist than ever try and wonder why I stand here on this corner, just trying to survive. While they avoid my glances, life don't favor second chances." I asked to buy him a drink. He said, "Thanks, I think I'll pass, but keep me in your thoughts and promise me you'll raise a glass for all the ones forgotten, for all the ones ignored, 'cause in the end we're all human, and virtue is its own reward." Sweet Maria of the Southern Wilds, patron saint of this lonesome isle, got evicted and lost her child. Try as they might, they can't take her smile. Six-string Joe used to play the blues down on Beale and Union Avenue. Pawned his guitar for a plate of food. Got a lot of soul, but none on his shoes. These are some people you're likely to meet if you ever look up when you're shuffling your feet. Can the richest nation afford empathy? Oh, for the ghost of this American dream, for the ghost of this American dream. Come on. sells street papers by the interstate. Her husband beat her till the day she ran away. Started drinking heavy to push aside the pain. Sober now, you ask her how, says I take it day by day. Old John lost his arm to a bomb in the war. Been trying to find a job since 1974. No address and post-traumatic stress shut many a door. Came home an unknown, saying what are we fighting for? These are some people you're likely to meet if you ever look up when you're shuffling your feet. Can the richest nation afford empathy? Oh, for the ghost of this American dream. For the ghost of this American dream. And I don't know the reason why so many turn a blind eye. Maybe they don't wanna see. Don't wanna see. When we hit hard times, it comes to mind. Maybe that could be me. Maybe that could be me. I don't know the reason why so many turn a blind eye. Maybe they don't wanna see. Don't wanna see. When we hit hard times.